when you're a step parent, it's difficult because the opposite parent wants to know, do you really have the child's best interest at heart? And by being a step parent, you constantly have to prove yourself to me in certain areas to let you know that you really care about that child.
So do you find it difficult being in that position to be a step parent?
It can be difficult at times.
So what are some of those challenging times that you may face as being a stepfather? I'm not sure how old you were when you came into their lives or anything like that, but what are some of the challenges that you may face or that you have faced or that you've had experience with? You've talked to other fathers that are step parents and they're telling you, oh, I'm having these problems, oh, I'm doing this. So do you guys come together and have conversations as to how you can make it better?
I think what some of the deals you face is most of the kids are like, you're not my dad, so how can you tell me something? You know, and that part is real difficult when you trying to let the child know that I'm here for you. I'm gonna be there all the way. And a lot of them don't like you to discipline their child if they don't know if you got the best interest. You know.
So do you feel that you're in the middle? Sometimes it's like a tug of war between maybe the custodial parent versus the stepfather. Do you feel that?
Yeah, you're always gonna be in the middle to me to a certain degree because sometimes the dad will come in and try to pull the weight around or just to let you know that he's the father. And the mother as well, sometimes she's in a hard position as well because she's having to, choose between you and the child. Sometimes it's a difficult thing.
So do you think that all parents, the custodial parents, the step parents, the people that are engaged, that are about to be married, do you think that everyone should sit down at the table and have a conversation?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so
definitely.
How do you feel like that conversation should go?
Well, you should sit down and talk with the kid's dad to let them know something about you. Let them know what do you want from him as far as we can come together type of thing, because we all got to come together, because if we come together, it'll make that transition much easier.
So let us poll our audience. Are you guys step parents? What are some of the challenges that you're facing? If you're a kid that's in this situation, what are some of the challenges that you have? So we just want, this is an interactive show where we want feedback. We want, you guys to talk to us and we talk back. So please chime in and let us know. Key, go ahead. I'm sorry, I've been taking over the show. Go ahead, Key. Viewing from the step. Okay. Freddie said, take out the step and it may work out better. Okay.
So how do you feel it will work out better to take out the step when the person feels that child understands you as the step?
Deb said the boundaries, your expectations, the relationship, and respect from all adults should be in place while you're dating.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So Deb, how do you set those boundaries? What type of conversation should you have when you're dating? What should you do? And Freddie, you said take the word step out. So are you saying that call them a bonus or just get rid of the title altogether and say, this is my father, this is my mother? Then how does the biological parents feel about that? Are they okay with you calling or with that child calling someone their step parent mom or dad? So Brett, do you know anyone that's in that situation where, everyone gets along, right? The custodial parents, the step parents, and then you all have had a conversation and you sit down and say, okay, this is how it's gonna work. I know I'm not your father, but I love you dearly. I know I'm not your mother. I love you dearly. So how do you foster those conversations?
Like you said, I agree with what he said. It need to be established when you first date them. And sometimes if you don't establish it from the first time, it get difficult to transition that. So it's I never I've seen it where it's been done where the stepfather and the mother get along and picks up the kids and they all do it. I have seen that. So
it can work.
it can work.
Okay.
It
Okay.
can.
So Monica said, I don't have a stepdaddy. He's my daddy. So how does your biological father feel about that, Monica, if he's in your life, with you saying that you don't have a stepdad that's your dad? And that's great. That's perfect. You know, we want everyone to feel love, and I think that's what children want. They want to feel love. They want to feel love from everyone. You know, and I do think when you put that word step in front of it, that like blocks some of the relationships that you can have with that person. Okay, you have anything to add?
So do you think there's a time frame on when the bond should happen between you and the stepchild?
I don't think there's a time frame. I think you have to let nature take its course. I think you have to build a relationship with the child and the mother as well, and they both see that you actually say what you are. And because you constantly have to prove yourself, because they looking. And if you say I care, and then one thing you do wrong, then that's when that wall will break down, and you're like, well, you say you care, but you did this. So you constantly applying for the job, I say.
Oh, so it's like, why do you feel like being a step parent is harder than parenting?
Because
I know that was our topic.
Yeah, because some of the kids that it goes back to, you're not my dad. And it's kind of like, how can you tell me something if you wasn't,
if you're not my dad?
You're not my dad. And also it takes, in order to get that, it takes two. It has to be the stepfather and the mother has to come together in some type of way to intercede to make that bond better.
To make that connection.
Make that connection.
Okay.
So what if that custodial parent is not encouraging on the part of making that bond much smoother? What happens then? How do you think that should be handled? Do you talk to the custodial parent? Do you get the child on your own and speak to them? Because sometimes you probably feel like you're at a battle because the child is a certain way because custodian parents not encouraging, but you understand that's that person's child.
Yeah, but only thing I can say is you just gotta pray. Just gotta ask God to fix the situation, to whatever seems fit for him in his order, not your order. So because you don't ever want to come between a woman and her kid or a man and his kid, because at the end of the day, that's all disaster. That's a disaster waiting to happen. So my suggestion would be just to pray and ask God to fix the situation or whatever needs to be done.
So how do you feel about discipline? Do you think that a step parent should have the right to discipline the child?
To a certain degree. To a certain degree. I don't think a man should, I'm going to say, punish a child with as if it was his own. I don't think.
But if you do that, are you separating the two? Because you said they shouldn't discipline, and I'm just asking.
Well, to a certain degree, as far as like, if I say.
You mean like a belt?
Like a belt.
Brutal.
Yes, like a belt. Now, if I say, well, she's on the farm, she can't go outside for 2 days.
Okay.
That's a different thing.
That's discipline.
It's discipline. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think a man should put his hands on a girl. It's not his.
What about a boy?
I think he should.
So
the roles are different.
Yeah.
So you're saying probably not a man, not a woman, because you don't want to cross that line of being caught up in being bothered, saying you harmed her, and it can get allegedly certain ways. Is that why you say what?
Yeah. So because a male need that male influence to see, because I've seen where women have actually punched their kid with a belt and it don't bother. Don't, so it just depends, on that. I wouldn't want a guy. I don't care about him punching my daughter, but I wouldn't want him to put his hand on my daughter.
That's a little biased.
I know it.
However, should you discuss that first with the couples? before when you're dating, you know this person has kids. So that's something you discuss first about disciplining the child, how that relationship is going to work. So I know someone talked about boundaries, but do you think we really as people have those conversations, or we just go in relationships and then whatever happens, and then we try to figure out like, don't touch my child, it's not your child. Don't do this, don't do that when you're already in it.
I don't think we have a conversation. We should.
Do you think we should start having those conversations?
We should have those conversations, and I think that'll make it better if you have this conversation. I think that the male, if the father is active in the child's life, he needs to sit down and talk with him on certain things like that. And also, the step parent need to, if the dad has punched her a certain way, he needs to adhere to that as well. So, in other words, if the dad, if she's over the dad house and dad says she can't go out for 2 days, and she come home and it's not the second day, then she needs to be still punished.
Everybody needs to be on the same page.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And that, you know, and what I try to do is, I don't, if a sister, something come before me, like if my stepdaughter come and say, well, can I go outside? I always ask, what did your mother say? Because sometimes they can come in and ask you something, and then you go against, and you're not knowing.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely. So Freddie said, time frame is when you show love. I know that was a question that was asked earlier. Monica said, I feel he has nothing really to say. I call him daddy too. But the one that has been there the most gets the most in my eyes.
I agree with you.
So you agree with that?
I agree with that because to me, your dad is the one that's there for you. Your father is the one there for you. It's the difference between father and dad. Father means, to me, father means more.
What's a bun?
It's father. Anybody can be a dad, but can you be a father?
Okay, so what's the difference between the two? What's the difference between being a dad and being a father?
A dad is just, to me, a dad is just a word.
Because people say, that's my baby dad.
Yeah. But see, a father means that he's protective. I'm 48 years old. When I'm around my father, I feel so good inside.
He like the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost?
Yes, because I know that he whatever I need as far as protection, I'm not talking about material things. I'm going to get it.
Right. Gotcha. So you don't feel like, do you feel like a stepdaddy can do that as well?
He can.
Okay.
But the child has to be receptive of that.
I agree.
He can do that. But,
okay.
Yeah.
So Freddie said, everyone must respect each other. I agree that the woman deal with the girls and the man deal with the boys. Okay. Deb said, if they're under my roof, I'm whooping my kids. Step kids, no, stable kids, neighbor kids, across the street. Damn, I'm with you. If they in my house, they getting their butt whooped.
I agree with her on that order, but I think the woman should be able to whoop the girls and the boys. It's just a different when a man put his hands on a girl. It's just so much that you can
cross that line.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Mm-hmm. You have to be careful because that's not your child. Even when.
But you keep saying that. I understand that that's not your child. And Key and I have these conversations. Matter of fact, we just had it last night. It's like, I think when you say that's not my child, so you're building a wall there. You know, I understand the discipline. I understand that, not everybody wants you putting their kids. I agree with that.
It's just a thin line. At the end of the day, even though you don't step parent, it's boundary. It's a thin line that you have to watch because there's a lot of stuff that can go along with that. You know what I'm saying? You can CPS can get involved. The dad might not like you, and he might want to call, and it's a lot of stuff. So you want to try to. You're
just saying it may turn into something because they're angry at you. Yeah. They can turn it against that male, and make something alleged. Because I'm sure we've heard of stories. Yeah. I've heard of a story where the child did say something about the father, and the father, matter of fact, is in jail today, and it didn't happen.
It's just like me when I'm at home. When even I get out the shower or whatever thing that I make sure I protect myself. I put my clothes on. I do my best to do that because you just have to be careful, because if the kid go over to their dad and they talking and then they see something that is not, and putting yourself in certain situations. So
right. But back to those boundaries, like one spoke about, and having that conversation, do you think that would alleviate some of the issues on how we discipline our steps children if we talk about it?
Yeah,
if it's discussed during the dating phase, because
yeah.
it's not like the kids go away because we got married. We were dating, now we're married, but we would have had those conversations. You already know how we discipline.
Yeah, if you had that from the word say go, then that other parent would know, okay, this guy is all right, and he he's okay. I don't think that he would do anything to harm our child, things of that nature. And also it depends on the custodial parent, how she relays you guys' relationship to him. If she, say, hey, this guy is good to my child, and just kind of, set boundaries and let him know. And I think that's a part of it as well.
But shouldn't that be established up front?
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you don't get along with the children, then I don't see how you're going to get along with the wife.
Correct. It should.
Because if a woman puts a man before her children, and it's like, oh, well, you got to get over it because I'm going to marry him or I'm going to date him anyway. Correct. Or you're just in your feelings because you don't want me to be happy.
Correct.
So if you are, well, not you per se, but if a man is faced with those type of obstacles, do you still get married to that woman, or do you still date that woman knowing that she's always going to put her children first?
I don't think you should. I don't think you should, because if you know that that's what she's going to do, and biblically, what the word say that it has to be. But if you know that she's going to do that, it might be a recipe for disaster.
I agree.
But we don't, though. We still go ahead and get married. Society still goes.
Yes.
That's why we're in a lot of issues we in.
Yeah, we do things we not supposed to do. We shouldn't do. We overlook a lot of stuff.
Do you think that would ever change when people would, hey, I shouldn't go for it because it's not going to get any better?
Yeah, that once you do things in life, you shouldn't repeat it again. Once you go through certain things in life, I don't say make a mistake or whatever you want to call it. You should learn from the last relationship or anything in life that you've done. You should learn from that, and try not to make that mistake again.
Great.
Yeah.
So what happens? You marry, now you're in it. Do you tough it out and keep going?
Yeah, because the reason why you tough it out, because you made a vow to God. You didn't make a vow to man. I made a vow to God. So if I made that vow to God, I gotta pray and ask God as the man to heal whatever situations I'm in. I got to take the leadership role of it and say, God, you know what's what, and to fix it. That's just me.
So your thing is, you believe in the power of prayer.
Yes, I believe in the power of prayer. I'm not a pastor, but I do believe in the power of prayer.
Okay.
Let's go back to some of the comments. So Dab say, my fiance did say that he, what am I missing? Because he's the boy. He did need to whoop him, but he's a boy, and I lecture him, and that would work on a girl. Boys need their butt whooped, though, because he's a boy. Because he's a boy. Oh, okay. So you feel boys really need the butt whooping, and the girls get the lecturing. It's on the little girl.
Right.
Sometimes she might be off the chain.
And Helen McKenzie said amen to it, so she agrees with that. Okay. And Freddie said the Bible say your husband should come first. Well, Freddie, we know that, but does that really happen? Because we become mama bears, and it's like, oh, that's my child. I have to protect my child. And so I think it's just a mother's instinct, especially if you are a true mother. I mean, we have some mothers that are not mothers, like he just said, the difference between being a father and being a dad. Right. So if you are a mother, you want to do all that you can to protect your child. And sometimes you don't see that you're crossing some boundaries there. Right. You don't see that you're causing obstacles for that step parent to try to discipline that child or try to build a bridge with the child. Because I think as long as we keep saying step, it's going to always be division. right? So long as we keep saying this is my stepchild, and I know you mentioned before the interview, Brent, you don't use the term step. You're like, this is my daughter.
No,
You know?
no, I don't like using it, but to me, I think you have to do to make that child feel comfortable. If saying stepdad makes that child feel comfortable, you have to do that. If saying another thing another way makes the child comfortable, you have to do what makes that child comfortable to me. But what I do, I say this is my daughter. This is what I say.
I agree. And so Tracy Lamar Griffith said there is a thing as overprotective for the kid, and the kid knows that.
Oh yeah. Oh, they know that, and I can elaborate on because sometimes kids are, I've seen it where kids know a certain thing that their mother do, and they'll play that
They
situation.
pit you guys against each other.
They will, and it's not that they do it intentionally, just that they.
No, they're doing it intentionally.
Well,
Some probably.
Some, so yeah, that's a thing too. So.
But we probably understand too that mothers, if you get with someone that's been that child, that mother a long time, it has a tendency to probably feel that they're overprotective of their child, even though they probably want the love of the man. And I'm sure there are single fathers out there as well who's been with that child, and that woman comes in, and a man comes in. That's all you've known. It's been those two together. So like it was mentioned, I don't think they try to be hover bear over the kid, but it turns out that be way. I think where the line gets crossed when you start telling that person almost as it's us against you.
Right, and that goes to what Antonio just said, Key, what you just said. Antonio Edwards said the kid act out and play parents against each other.
Oh, yeah.
What you were just saying.
Yeah, and what's what we got to learn how to stop doing, because we want our kids to have the best life that we want them to have. We also want to love them by any means necessary, because that's your kid. But I think sometimes just in marriage relationships, when you're dating someone who has kids, it's kind of hard because you don't want to walk that fine line. But that's when you start having a conversation, because when you do go to the next level, being married, that child doesn't go away. So when you don't have that connection of saying, talk about how should we be, how should you address the child, how should you not make the person, because you can also make the step parent, not even just the kid. The maid can make the step parent feel a certain type of way, because I feel like it's you, then it's me. It's you guys over here, then it's us. So we got to find a way. How do you make that connection? I'm sure it's hard because you're not thinking that, oh, I'm not trying to come off that way, but it's been you two so long, but you want this love to come in, but then you still trying to make that step parent feel a step parent to you and the kid.
Do you know how that can be fixed?
How?
I'll say it again, and I've said it 100 times in life. If we do things in order of the Bible tells us, if you do it that way, then your child is going to feel, the Bible says, God first, husband second, everybody else. If you do it in that order, the kid's going to feel the love. It's like a volcano. When it erupts, it goes down, and then everybody's going to feel it. So if you do it, if you do it in the order that way, then the love that the husband is God giving to the man is giving it to the family. Right. And then it's given it to the wife, and then the kid's gonna feel it all.
I believe you. But however, we know more horror stories than we know of peace stories. Right. So how do you fix the horror story though, Brent? How do you fix the horror story?
I don't know one way but prayer. That's the only thing I'm just, y'all.
We can't shake them and choke them.
and shake them and choke them again. So Tracy Lamar Griffith just said, remember the Bible teaches that all kids have sin nature and must be taught good. Too many parents allow kids to raise themselves.
Preach, Tracy. Oh, another one for you, Brent. So if you have certain values, and this mother or that father has taught their child to be a certain way, you don't believe in that way, how do you handle scenarios in that kind of case?
Well, what I had to learn to do is kind of just stay in my lane to a certain degree on certain things. That if she's used to doing things a certain way, if you want peace in your home, you're gonna have to kind of roll with the punches, kind of do what the way she was doing it. Because when you come in and try to do it
your way,
it creates more because that kid look like, well, he trying to do this because he don't like me or whatever. I'm just saying, you know, I'm old school. I believe in, you know, the kids being in bed about 9, you know, and the parents is up. I'm just old school, but if everything is different.
But are you talking about forcing a child to doing something, or you're talking about let's discuss how we should do?
I think discussing is better because when you force it, it creates division.
Exactly, but you said you'd rather just stay in your lane,
yeah,
and just keep the peace in the house, even though that irritates you.
Well, if certain things irritate me, I might say, I'll never say it in front of the kid. I might go and say, hey, you know, such.
I'm glad you brought that up. So when there is a disconnect or when there is a disagreement, that's not handled from the stepchild, right? You go to that parent and try to speak to her about he or she about their child.
Yeah, I try to do that. Sometimes it don't happen. I pretty much, my wife disciplined her kids, and I just pretty much, sit back.
Hands off.
She said she disciplined her kids. Those are y'all children?
Well, you're correct, but I really don't discipline per se. I might say, like, did you hear your mama say, don't do that, something like that?
Okay, so you're reinforced.
I'm just like reinforced.
Okay.
I let my wife do the discipline.
Okay, but you to reinforce.
Okay.
And you're okay with that, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Is that what you guys discussed, or you just played your role?
I just stepped into
the role like that.
Okay. So how many stepchildren do you have?
Right now I have 2.
You have 2. What are those ages?
18 and 7.
Okay.
Okay.
So how long have you been in their lives?
The baby girl, she was 3, and the older girl, she was, I think, about 13.
Oh, so you've been in their life for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. We got another comment. Tracy says, structure is key to any kid's development. The kids actually look for discipline as an act of real love. I 100% agree with that. Because kids, they know when you love them, so they know the difference between the two. They know if you're loving on them or if you're just being mean. So if you create that structure, that's going to follow them for the rest of their life.
Right.
So if you're that parent that you just sit back and you're just like, oh, well, I'm gonna let them figure it out on their own, you're setting them up for disaster. Because this world, no matter what you're doing, there are rules. There are rules by everything we do. There are rules when you go to work. So by you being a step parent, you still have to enforce rules in your household. And that's creating that structure that Tracy was talking about.
Yeah, I just pretty much, my wife does the discipline, and
Okay.
I just pretty much, I try to let her handle that part of it,
Okay.
and she does a good job of that. So I really don't have to.
You don't have to intercede there.
No, because she does an excellent job on that. I'm just kind of like, I sit back and I just stay in my lane. If she asks me something, then I do it. But she pretty much does that part of it.
Okay. I think that would be hard for me.
What?
I think that would be hard for me. Just kind of staying in the lane, because I would want us to be able to communicate on how we would discipline them. Whether it's one of those where I don't discipline or I discipline by voice opposed to physical. It's just, we are a family. And I know a lot of times we've been saying about the word step. I don't think people try to say step. I just think that's what we just know as society. We have a new word now. Some people say bonus family. Some people have gotten so to the point they have put all the petties behind them, and you don't know who the step, who the bonus, who the ex, who the new wife, because people find dynamics are so different now. And I just always believe when we're talking about is about the kids. And when I get on this part about people always tell me it's about the kids, then I get to the point of why the adults can't remove pettiness to make it about the kids. So we know that children most of the time want their parents together.
Correct.
That's just human nature. But that still should be me as a step, that person as a step, find a way to help encourage that child to make that person feel welcome. Because the child can be uncomfortable, and so is the step parent can be uncomfortable. Because some step kids are hell on wheels.
Oh, yeah.
Some step parents, you can put them in a box and ship them somewhere as well.
Well, I've known it. I think you have to do what's comfortable for your relationship, and if whatever works for you guys, I think that's what you have to do.
Right.
Because I've seen it where some guys will throw their weight around because they still have feelings involved for the other young lady. Mm-hmm. They want you to know that.
Right.
So you can't stop me, so I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I've seen that.
And that's what I mean, the pettiness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's because people are not sound here. You know.
So how do you think that should be handled? Like if your stepdaughter your stepdaughter goes to her custodial parent, i.e. father or mother or whatever, and she comes back and tell you, oh, Miss Susie was yelling at me. Miss Susie said this to me. Miss Susie said that to me. Do you think that you should take that up with Miss Susie, or should you have a conversation with the custodial parent?
I'm gonna investigate first. I'm gonna investigate because you have to be careful because, like you said, once again, that kid can go back and fabricate things. So I'm gonna investigate and find out first what happened. I'm gonna go back and say, hey, this was brought to me. I don't know, and find out, and then see how.
But again, like G is asking, who are you speaking to first? Because you say you're gonna investigate, so you gotta talk to someone.
I'm gonna listen to what the child told me.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna go back to the parent.
So what if the parent tells you, yes, I did tell little Jane to sit over there and don't say anything because she was running up and down the stairs, she was doing all these things, she was just out of control.
I'm not gonna have a problem with it as long as you're doing something that's best for that child.
Okay.
And it's in the best interest of that child. I'm good.
Okay. So Tracy just said some adults alienate their relationships for the kids. It's done before you start. It takes everybody on deck. Research everything. Right. I agree.
Right.
Because we know some children that'll come back and tell you, oh, she told me I was ugly. She told me that. Then you calling the custodial parent and like, why is she over there telling my child what to do? Why is she telling him what to do?
That's where you, as a parent, you got to be grown up and understand if your child is capable of lying to you.
Well, you know children are capable of lying.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying.
Is you trying to understand, do you think, if you think the one that your child will lie to you?
Your child,
it will. Especially if they don't like the other guy or the other woman, right, they're going to fabricate some stuff. And you, by being the parent, we are so protective of our kids. We're going to jump right head in and not ask and say, you could just say, well, Susan said this was said. Mm-hmm. I'm just calling. I'm not, out of concern.
But when Susie is lying, Susie told you to sit over there in the corner. Are you really having a conversation with that step parent? Because if I told you to sit in the corner, I didn't beat you. I didn't hit you.
I'm not. Something like that. I'm not finna call her and why you make Susan sit in the corner.
But we know some parents do.
Well,
we know some parents that call and be like, look, why you tell my daughter to sit in the corner? If you got a problem with her, you take that up with her daddy, and you take that up with her mom.
But that goes back to if everything was established from the get-go, when something happened like that, you're not worried. It's just like when you drop your kid off over to one of the aunt's house, you're not worried. Okay, I'm not worried. I'm gonna leave my kid here. I might leave a few dollars. I'm not gonna call. I know he's with an aunt, so I know he's okay. You see what I'm saying? So it has to be established from the get-go.
Tamir said, I will say this. If you don't want your child disciplined, don't bring them to my house, period. Tamir, I think you forgot the T. Period. Okay?
3 T's. 4 TVs. If I can feed them, I should be able to do it.
I agree. And
Right.
if you trust me enough to drop your child off at my house, you know that I have the best interest for this child. But some kids just do the donkey. You know, they just want to act crazy. They just want to, and some kids are not disciplined at home. So, you know, that's a whole nother issue because you can turn cartwheels and flip over the sofa at your mama's house. When you come over here, you can't do that.
Well, what we need to do is, you know that child like that, don't let them come to your house.
But what if that's your stepdaughter? What if that's your, what if,
No, it's not any different. It's just what I'm saying. That's why I say it's that hard. It's a hard situation because everybody feel their child is the bomb.com, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just have a problem sometimes when you're bringing love with someone that's not their biological. They're not the biological parent, and we have so many different rules. I don't think a person have a problem not disciplining child, but this is not all about physical discipline.
Yeah.
But when you're in a home and you can't tell that other person's child anything, I just think that's a problem. That causes issues.
You should be able to
That
say
causes issues. Nothing wrong with staying in your lane, but it's just like we got to coexist in this house together. Why can't we be on the same page? We do know a lot of people do not have those conversations up front. And if you decided to bring this man or woman in your home while you're a child, you trust them enough to do that, but you don't trust them enough to say anything to your kid. That's the part that always baffles me.
And so we have a comment from the group. It says, Tracy said, kids are emotional and put results before the truth. Know the kid you birth. So you know when little Johnny is lying to you. Absolutely, Tracy. You know, you like, girl, go sit your butt down. Didn't nobody say that to you. Antonio said, when you remarry, you stay with the wife and her kids, but your kids depend on the relationship with the ex. They're doing for the other kids instead of them. I treat my stepkids like they're my own. Woo! That was a mouthful, Antonio.
Woo.
Okay, it's like.
And see, that's another one. If you have kids, your kids are not at home with the mother.
Right.
If it's a mother, your kids are not there. Their kids are there. So you can't tell that child anything, but then your kids come over there, it's an issue. Mm-hmm. Or you don't spend as much time with your kids because whatever reason. That's what we got to learn how to get out of. So that's why I'm just curious, how do we stop the madness?
Right. And Tamir said these new generational parents are crazy. I got my butt whooped. I know, it's like,
we got away from the box and spread the rod.
Spoil the child, right? So
but everything is not about a whooping, though. Every kid doesn't need a kid. Need a whooping, though.
You need it every now and then when the kid needs I'll call it touching reality.
I think kids need a whooping.
Every child doesn't need that, but that's not the issue with the whole discipline thing. I know people don't want you to physically touch their child. Some people don't want you to say anything to their child. Right. You can go in there and say, "Hi, Prince. Did you do your homework?" Or, "Hey, don't play on the couch. Go there and sit down." Why you got her saying something to my kid?
Right. Right.
Be in my house.
Absolutely.
That's my point. How do you move forward from stuff like that?
That person got to move forward.
You have to be almost crazy to think that you're gonna have somebody in your home and you can't tell that child anything. And like I said, everybody's not the big bear wolf. Everybody's not trying to not like your kid. No one's like, I'm talking about that person. They love your kid to death. They know it's not their kid. They are in their lane. But if you leave me with your child and I'm here by myself and you flip it on my couch, no, I ain't
you should be able.
We don't do that over here.
You should be able to say
no, what you gonna do is take with Johnny with you. Go over there. No, I can't do anything. You take him on with you. If you in this house, you gonna do what I say do. I don't care what your mama told you. I don't care what your daddy told you. You in my care right now. So anything else, baby, I'm gonna take him to work with you because he's not gonna flip over my sofa in here. He's not gonna walk on top of my table. He's not gonna eat in the front room. He's gonna eat at the table. He's not gonna walk all over the house with you. He's not just gonna do that. We have rules in here,
right?
And so I think when the step parent tries to enforce those, even if the mother's doing that at home, she's gonna be pissed at you because she's like, well, why you let her tell him what to do? Well, that's your job. You're the ones that's supposed to deal with him.
Because they haven't let
go.
Their feelings are
That's
still
the
there.
issue.
So that's the issue.
That's the real issue.
That's the real issue.
That's
that
the real
they
issue.
haven't let go, because if there was any inkling that they can, some of us guys slide back and creep with your baby mamas.
Right.
You done that. And so now that another guy come in, he can't slide. He can't come over there and live no more like he used to be able to do. Have his cake and ice cream eating too, or vice versa, man or woman, whatever which way it is.
Mm-hmm.
But so now you've taken that away. So when you taking it away, it is like they want to show you, since you can't do this, okay, I'm gonna do this. And
it's a bunch of BS all day, every day. Because, like I said, I just thank God I never had to go through that. I don't know what I would do. And I also have a problem with a step parent trying to remove that child out the way because she or he don't want to be bothered with a stepchild.
That's if that was the case, you better run to the hill.
But some men do it. Some men they're like, okay,
because that's not a man, because it's a package deal.
Well, some men like, okay, well, my wife don't want this outside child, so what I'm gonna do is remove myself from the equation and make this child go off on their own.
No, it's not right.
Absolutely, it's not right. But we know that happens, right?
Whoever do that, that's
And that becomes a parent's issue, right?
Yeah.
That's the parent's issue. So that's what I'm saying. We have to learn how to find a way, should I say, to really make it about the kids. Mm-hmm. We do understand that kids are going to be kids. Some kids, they just cannot handle the disconnect. Those kind of kids, you do have to pray and keep working. I mean, like you said, you pray from all, but that type of child where they just can't handle their mom and dad not being together and they not really that rambunctious and doing crazy stuff, you can understand with them. I could probably deal with them better. But then the one where they're just a bratty kid and my mate allows that foolishness, that's just what I have a problem with, because that's the case. Y'all should stay together.
But I think one way how you can fix that, if you incorporate you guys together and that kid see that you guys are incorporated together, and I think that'll make the transition smoother. You know what I'm saying? If, other words, if Little Johnny has a recital and make the step parent feel a part of that, and if they kids see that you guys are together, that you can't be divided. Is you see what I'm saying? They see that
so it's not being a cohesive unit.
Yes, even though he has to be cohesive unit, even though he's not the real mother. I mean, she's not the real mother or the real father. You got to make him feel that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when that child sees that child be like, okay, I can't come between a stepdad. I can't come between a stepmother.
Absolutely. That's the overall goal for all of us to get along.
All of us.
Right. So we just want to say thank you all for listening to us. Keita, I'm sorry.
What Debs? I'm sorry. One rule. What you say? My lights go out at 8 p.m. for everyone in the house. What you do at mom's, her rule.
Yeah, they come to your house.
Cowboys don't go off at 10 o'clock.
I'm like, damn, we at least get 9.
No. But what did Britt just say? You do what works for your household. And that's what she's going to work for her household.
No, damn, it's not
okay. That's what I'm talking about, because you tell them 8 o'clock. And I think the other issue is, too, before we close out this, we have a tendency, I don't care who you are, good, bad, and different, you bring your ways of growing up into your parenting, and sometimes it doesn't mix with the same people. Step, not step. So you can imagine how it is when I want to go, you said 9, she's talking about 8. You can imagine how you're saying, like, I grew up, you didn't leave the house with the bed. You don't close the door. You don't own this door around here. To this day, I don't leave my home without my bed made up. So if you bring somebody else in, if you're just asking a stepchild,
I had to learn that too. I'm being honest. I was living by myself, and I would get up out the bed, and I'm like, "Why am I taking this up? I'm getting back." But now my wife, she's like, make the bed up. So I make it up. It might not be to her expectation,
but it's made.
But it's made.
But that's things you pass on to your kids. So that's what I'm saying. If you, in your case, if we were the people, it'll be a situation where you don't make up the bed. I'm telling your child to go make up the bed. Well, my dad don't make up the bed. See, that's issues right there because you're doing how you want to do. I'm doing how I'm taught, and sometimes it does be conflict when it comes to discipline.
It can be a tug of war. It can be a tug of war.
You don't go to bed without the dishes. Don't leave those dishes in the sink.
Right. Don't leave this out there. Yeah.
It can be simple things that you're doing with a step child that's has nothing to do with any kind of physical thing at all.
Yeah, we used to throw the dishes away because we didn't want to wash them. You know, I'm like, let me throw this away. So
I actually break it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to wash no dishes. So in closing, we have one last comment from Tamia. She said, "I'm with you, G. I didn't have the problems, and I've helped raise my husband's children, and he helping me raise my boys." That's wonderful to me, and I think we're ending on a positive note.
That's good.
Because that's how it should be. And so we just want to say for our group fans or our group friends that joining us for the first time, we hope that you guys come back. This is a show where we talk about real life topics. We have different topics every week. So they're just real life. I know I posted we were going to talk about something with singles, but this subject was just tugging at me. So I reached out to Key and I was like, hey, God is telling me that we need to talk about step parenting, and I'm not a step parent. So I just wanted to, have this conversation with a broader audience, right? And I wanted to get a male's perspective, and Brent was willing to do that for us. So with that being said, Key and I just want to say thank you for taking time out on your Sunday to visit and listen to Chat and Chew. Debs, I'm sorry, I know that was the last comment, but Deb said, and they have to be a 49 fan.
No, baby.
Cowboys for life.
Cowboys. We going to the Super Bowl.
Lord, they say that every year, Deb.
We are going, baby.
Damn, are you talking about the step parent or you talking about the step child?
Which one is going?
Because he or she already in the bed by 8.
So they can't even see the game.
That's tough, man.
Right.
You got to be in the bed by 8. Wait a minute, you got to be in the bed by 8 and the 49 fan.
Oh, your house.
No.
But again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in with Chat and Chew with Key.
And G. It's Chat and Chew with Key. And G. I'm G. And I'm Key. And we're Chat and Chew with Brent today.
Thank you.
Yay.
And Brent is a Cowboys fan, and the Cowboys played today. And Brent said he left 5 minutes till to make this show. So we appreciate you. We appreciate you guys. So we appreciate you guys so much that we want you to drop your cash out, name it, and we may just bless you on this wonderful Sunday.
Yes, so share this video so that, more people can drop their cash app name, and you never